This Soonerscoop.com video is streaming in crystal clear 4K resolution on YouTube thanks to Enjoy Vision in Oklahoma City. Don't miss a moment on or off the field. Make every day a highlight with LASIK at Enjoy Vision. Enjoy Vision. This is where Soonerscoop LASIK.
Crazy season, of 13-0. You look at some of those things. You win your rival at Bedlam. You win the Battle of Atlantis. You win the Jordan Brand games. We start out 13-0. And then we hit a rough spot, the SEC. We went in there, we grew through it, we had a bunch of tough losses. But all of a sudden these guys kept on believing, and that's what I'll remember this team by, is the adversity we had to go through with this league, and then to keep trying to find a way. And when Sam went out to win, 3 quad one wins in a row, win at your rival on the road with your back against the wall, and that's resiliency. And I think these guys will always remember that.
Hello and welcome back. Eddie Radosevich, Bob Przybylo here from the Soonerscoop.com studios. Welcome back to the Soonerscoop.com YouTube channel. A Hoops Report Monday. Women still in the NCAA tournament, trying to punch their ticket to the Sweet 16 for the first time since 2013. Oklahoma season comes to an end on Friday night. Bob Przybylo back from Raleigh, North Carolina, and hell of an effort. Another hell of a game for Oklahoma. They lose 67-59. The final score, Oklahoma finishes the season 20-14 on the year, and had a chance, certainly, with the last 5-6 minutes of the game. A hell of a comeback, and you just kind of left standing there thinking, what could have been. But Bob, welcome back. Another season comes to an end for Porter Moser, the 4th year, and just kind of your overall thoughts. You were there on Friday night in Raleigh, and a bad shooting performance.
Exactly. You just never had that feeling that someone was about to catch fire and hit the shots that you need. It didn't matter what sets that Porter Moser ran. It's like no one could hit. All they could do is kind of will themselves into the paint or to the free throw line, like the Mo Wagee 7-0 run that comes out of nowhere, or Jalen Moore scoring 13 of his 13 points in the second half. Jeremiah Fears, terrific the entire night. Ends up with 4 assists, should have been like 10 or 12.
Sure.
The way that he was just spoon-feeding people left and right. But you're 3 of 17 from 3, and I don't think any shot encapsulates it more than Bryson Goodine. They draw to play up. It's perfect. Corner 3, air ball.
Yeah.
Like you're in a tight 2-possession game. You make that, put pressure on Connecticut. Instead, now we're just playing the foul game.
Oklahoma, as you said, goes 3 for 17 from behind the arc on Friday night. Jalen Moore, Duke Miles, Bryson Goodine, Kobe Elvis, Dayton Forsyth combined 0 for 13. The good news was, there was some bad news at the beginning. You're down 11-2 automatically, and I think a lot of us in the press box over at baseball on Friday night were thinking, oh boy, this is going to be a long night. But they dug in defensively, and the defensive effort was tremendous. It certainly gave you an opportunity.
It was tremendous. And being courtside for the first time this season, two things stood out. One was the defense. I was like, wow, they are connected. Kobe Elvis, Jalen Moore, everyone is playing. Bryson Goodine, maybe he couldn't shoot because he played so hard on defense.
Sure.
He had a couple steals. He was engaged in there. And then the other thing stood out, how quick Jeremiah Fears is with the ball. I had no idea. That is some next level. Like, yeah, he's definitely ready.
The final 8-9 games of Jeremiah Fears' career at Oklahoma, and I think it's not official, but you can certainly expect him to declare for the NBA draft here coming up in June. I think that's when it is. I don't ever remember. I'm a Thunder fan. Don't worry about the draft. We have 1,000 picks. It doesn't matter. It was awesome to watch him in that season. And, you went into halftime even, 32-26, thinking like, not bad for as poorly as you shot the ball in the first half.
And then you're like, there's no way this happens again.
Sure.
And then it did.
And then it did.
Just didn't matter. Like there was no flipping of the switch. I mean, you go back to that Georgia game, hitting 10 threes in the first half. And here you're hitting 3 in 40 minutes. And you give a little bit of credit to UConn, for sure. But a lot of those looks, like you're going to live with them. And for whatever reason, they weren't dropping. Like Dayton Forsyth had a couple that he's drained them the entire season when he's that open, and they've rattled in and out. Or Kobe Elvis had one in and out. It's like, whatever reason, there's a lid when they're shooting the 3, and they just cannot get over that hump.
halfway down, it seemed, for a lot of the shots on the 3 for 17 night. Oklahoma did take the lead, 47-46, 9:03 mark. Mo McGee was going insane. He had an incredible night, 9 points, 12 rebounds, 6 of them coming on the offensive glass. And then it was the Alex Caravan and Terrace Reed. I thought that Alex Caravan 3 with 3:40 left, put him up 4.
That hurt.
And Moser talked about it after the game, just in terms of they had 2 possessions. They went inside instead of kicking it back out. Terrace Reed had the putback with 2:50 left to put him up 6. And from there, it kind of felt like it was a little bit over.
It did, and that's sad because there's still so much time left. But when no one was making that big shot, you're kind of relying on not to bail, and I don't want to say the refs are bailing him out, but for fears to get to the free throw line based on his activity and his aggression. But like that's eventually you need to go at least 3 for 2 or 3 for 1 if Connecticut were to miss one of the free throws. Instead, you're just basically going even with them the entire way. You're never gaining any ground in those final couple minutes.
The defensive effort combined with Mo McGee was certainly the kind of the talking point after the game on Friday night in Raleigh. Here is Porter Moser discussing just that.
Well, we knew our defense, with the movement. If you saw it firsthand, UConn's movement is never ending. But we got them to the end of the shot clock a bunch. I thought, I think they had 64 possession. They got 67 points. I think they've been only under 1 point per possession one time all year. I thought Mo obviously we were shorthanded inside when Mo was out. I thought Reed was able to capitalize on that. I can't tell you how much Mo, with the effort he gave defensively and our guards guarding all that movement. We just 3 for 17. I thought we didn't capitalize on a bunch of layups, I thought. But they gave the defensive effort against that offense that we were asking for. With the exception of some rebounds, they got some. But, that depth inside when Mo was out, I think they capitalized on that as well.
Mo McGee, certainly one of those guys that I think would have an opportunity to come back.
Yes.
And then you start talking about the larger picture of Oklahoma. And Porter Moser finishes up his 4th year. He did get him to the tournament. I don't think that there's going to be a move in terms of Oklahoma making a move, but
that's how quickly
possibly
the script flipped.
It's crazy. The way that, and we've talked about it here, just in terms of the way that they were able to save the season after that LSU and Florida experience. Florida obviously moving on, beating UConn on Sunday in a game that was extremely tight. UConn played pretty damn well, gave themselves an opportunity. I don't think it was the referees, Dan Hurley. I think it was your team not making a field goal for the final 5 minutes. But either way, we're talking about Oklahoma. You did talk to Porter after the game, trying to get a little bit of a better idea of where this thing's at after year number 4.
Yeah, because, you've got to feel pretty good about where it stands. I know there's so much reflection and disappointment about year number 3, about being that first team out, because of all the bid stealers. And then you get to this year, and there's like one. Just Colorado State. There weren't any bid stealers. And you could still sense the frustration about going back to that last season. And it says build off of this year. You got to feel pretty good. You've got some things to point toward. Like the development of Jalen Moore is what you can use in the transfer portal time and time again. Or the freedom that Jeremiah Fears had. If you're someone who deserves that type of, you can do this. You can have a little bit of a free reign. I'm not going to try to corral you in every single time. Like there's things that they should be able to build off of. And then there were, guys like Jadon Jones, Jeff Nwankwo, they are out the entire season. Do they just come back?
Sure.
You hope.
Kind of the forgotten two members of this team.
You would hope that they just come back and they didn't just get paid for sitting on the bench the entire year. But yeah, interesting with the transfer portal opening today that there's not as much concern because you went with a lot of one-year rentals, the Glenn Taylors, the Kobe Elvises. So you kind of knew we're going to have to hit the portal hard. But you shouldn't lose a lot. No portal defections that feel like are really going to sting, unlike last year where there were definitely 2 or 3 that hurt.
A lot of talk about retention of a roster and something that, through the first 3 years has not been great overall. But Bob did talk to Porter after the podium press conference. And here is Porter Moser on kind of the direction of the program after year number 4.
Well, I'll say this. to get your basketball program, you have to win in April and May. You have to win in April and May with the NIL. How hard these guys are playing. I mean, the narrative last year and this year, there was no bid steals. Someone was talking about the injuries. We had 3 major injuries down the stretch last year, and there was 5 bid steals. The narrative could be 2 straight. But for us, retention, we've got to win. You've got to win in April and May, and in the NIL, and to do that. And I'm so proud of how these guys fought through. All 4 years we've been in the #1 basketball conference in the league. Our competition with the NIL, with our, with what we have, and I thought to be able to compete at the guys resilient in this league. I'm so proud of how these guys fought through hard and get to where we are. I'm excited for the future.
That was Porter Moser after the game on Friday night. And I guess it's kind of a wait-and-see mode, right? Because obviously the Villanova job's still open. Texas makes a move on Sunday. They end up hiring Sean Miller from Xavier, who knocked out Rodney Terry. Interesting how that works, which is kind of a coincidence, if nothing else, that same way they got Jim Schlossnagel after A&M knocked Texas out. It is going to be interesting, though, here moving forward, what this next kind of week looks like for Oklahoma on the men's side.
It will be, because we talked all yesterday. I wanted Maryland to lose. I needed the Crab 5 out because I need to know what Kevin Willard is going to do. Is he, we don't know the pecking order of what Villanova is looking at, what the mutual interest with Kevin Willard, with Porter Moser, Richard Pitino, maybe? I'm not sure who else really is, standing out at this point. But with Maryland winning, does this drag out a little more? If it does drag out, does that a sign that Villanova wants Willard? Because, they're willing to wait this out as long as it happens. But, back-to-back 20-win seasons for Porter Moser, that's not bad. That's something OU hadn't had since the days of Buddy Hield. So, you're getting it back on the right track. And, you're going to be able to, like I said, flaunt someone like Jeremiah Fears and what he's going to be able to do and where he's going to get drafted. It feels like things should be on the up and up, but it's just a question, is he content? Does he feel like Norman and OU, that's still the place he can get things done that he wants to get done?
In terms of the direction of where they're going to go in the portal, do you have any feel? Obviously, you're losing a bunch of guys from this group, the one-year rentals, as you had talked about earlier, Bob. You focus in the backcourt. Do they need a big man in the front court? I know that as names start filtering out, you start seeing the, contacted. And Oklahoma has contacted already a couple guys that are in the portal.
Yeah, you look in, we mentioned Mo. I believe Duke Miles is in that same boat as someone could have a medical red shirt from earlier.
Okay.
If he wants it. He went through senior night, so I again, that doesn't mean much anymore in the grand scheme of things. So that would be something to sort of watch. You mentioned the size. Porter addressed that with this signing class. Kai Rogers is expected to be
6'10", big man, right?
I think he'll be a starter from day one, and I think he'll give you physicality, he'll give you size and production. And then you take a flyer on Andreas Holst. On3 loves this kid.
Sure.
No one else, no other recruiting service is as high on him. But when you take a chance with a foreign big guy, you don't know how it's really going to pan out. But he's even bigger in terms of height. And so Porter and the OU staff really addressed the lack of size that we talked about the entire season. They're going to get out-rebounded. The offensive rebounds are going to look really embarrassing. You're just going to have to power through it. They're trying to fix that problem. But is it, will the staff still be intact? Will this still be the same looking OU team next season?
It's going to be interesting. 7 of the 16 teams in the Sweet 16 are from the SEC. That's obviously a record, a really good showing.
Fantastic
if
showing.
Nothing else from the SEC.
Saturday and Sunday going 7-1, 8-6. Too many intelligent people did not come on, you're smarter than that. 8-6 just means 9 through 14. Yeah, that's about what you are. You're trying to fight and struggle, but you deserved inclusion because of how good some of these other teams are. You looked at the 7 teams that made it. Arkansas is the biggest surprise. Other than that, 6 teams that you really thought were probably going to make it. Arkansas is just a team that's kind of finding its groove right at the exact time. I mean, they're the only double-digit seed. No one's really, surprised or shocked that they end up being the one making it. But I mean, that's why if you were in the SEC, you were 6-12. That was good enough this season. I know people can't comprehend that. We're also in the age of the super conference, so all conference records before don't really matter as much. You're not going to have those cupcakes that, where you can rack up 3 or 4 easy wins and then just have to win 3 or 4 against some really good teams. I think people need to change their, expectations or the narrative, and that's Porter was quick to do that all season. Like, get rid of the thought that only 10 teams from a conference can make it. If they're good enough, they all deserve to be included.
The 10 alongside Arkansas's name is the seed, not the amount of money that they spent to put that roster together, $10 million being that. There will be a big conversation and a bigger conversation, I'm sure, as we get into Sweet 16 week and the Elite Eight. You got to pay. You got to pay in this day and age, and that's kind of what Porter Moser was talking about, and it's going to be interesting to see how they can kind of navigate this thing here moving forward because it ain't changing anytime soon.
Exactly. I mean, we know that OU, South Carolina, and LSU were the bottom 3. We know LSU has said, McMahon, we're not throwing you under the bus. We're going to support you. We're going to get you the money that you need to try to make the Tigers be competitive. I'm not saying that was a explicit call out to the OU administration by Porter. He's mentioned it before. NIL has got to get a lot better. I've looked at every comment I've had since I posted that, and there's a lot of people that are agreeing with Porter. It's like, this has got to change, or we're never going to be competitive. And all those people that think a coaching change fixes it, no, it doesn't. Not if you keep things the status quo of what you've been doing. So interesting week and a half ahead. Are you leveraging like Chris Collins did? Great job for you if it works out, right? You get the added bump. Northwestern, they want you to stay and keep you relevant as long as possible, or is a change coming? The further you get, the more I believe Porter stays. I was so scared Saturday. It's like, I'm flying back home. Something's going to go down.
Sure.
The only thing that went down Saturday, OU softball lost their first game. So I won't
I
won't go on a plane anymore, Patty. Don't you worry. I'll be locked in. But, we're now 3 days removed. You're still no real whispers. So we'll just kind of watch it.
We'll have to see what happens in Philadelphia. It's up to you, Villanova, I think. We'll see. Bob, we appreciate it. Welcome back to the state of Oklahoma. Flip side, George Stoia and the OU women. 3 o'clock today. Let's catch up with the great George Stoia next. We now welcome in the great George Stoia, a big game at the Lloyd Noble Center this afternoon here on Monday, OU Iowa. OU gets through Florida Gulf Coast, a exceptional fourth quarter, I think is probably the best way to say it. 72 rebounds for Oklahoma, and Florida Gulf Coast, they have not seen a three that they don't like. 8 for 41 on Saturday.
Yeah, crazy. They shot a lot. I think it was like 33 at the end of the third quarter. So they shot a ton of threes, and that kind of kept them in the game. They'd hit a couple, and that would get them back in. And OU turning the ball over and missing some shots that they should be hitting. Like Reagan Beers missed a lot of shots in the third quarter that she usually makes, and then OU just slammed the door shut in the fourth quarter. I think did they outscore them 36-10?
Yeah, it was something. Wild. They just kept scoring. It was like it was a close game going into the fourth quarter, and you thought, all right, hey, you need to kind of keep it up a little bit. The Skylar Gale, the girl from Florida Gulf Coast, like finally started to find a way to into
she's
the paint.
A transfer too. I think a transfer from Kansas.
Okay,
so she's played at the higher level. And,
sure.
And some comments. A lot of people I'm sure that haven't watched this OU team play much this year. One, they did a lot of things that they've done all year, which is turn the ball over, make some bad passes, and they go on streaks where they don't hit shots. The other thing that you should know about Florida Gulf Coast, they came into the game winning 23 in a row. They were 18-0 in conference play, and I get it. They're a 14 seed, but that's a team that a lot of people felt in the women's college basketball area that they should have been probably like a 10 seed or an 11 seed. And so they were 30-3.
Yeah.
I mean, this is not a team that lost a whole lot this year. So
dominant.
And they play a different style of game. And the girls talked about a lot of that, and Jennie did too after the game. They're a hard team to prepare for compared to what they played in the SEC, where you have these long athletic teams in the SEC. They have, a post player. Florida Gulf Coast plays 5 wide. They shoot a ton of threes, and they love to run up and down the court.
Sure.
OU didn't play a lot of teams like that, and especially teams that could shoot as well as they did and also take it to the rim. So I think it was a bit of a tough matchup for OU, and they've kind of finally found their groove.
Reagan Beers dominant on Saturday, 25 points, 18 rebounds. Sahara Williams, 3 points, 10 rebounds, 5 assists. But it was Skylar Vann that was very,
awesome.
very impressive. 24 points, 9 rebounds for the Sooner senior.
Yeah, and Reagan was really good early in the game, and then she was great in the fourth quarter. But Skylar was the one, whenever Florida Gulf Coast would go on a run, it felt like Skylar Vann would come up with a bucket or come up with a play. Either she'd get to the foul line or she'd pop out and hit a three. To start the fourth quarter, she hit a three at the top of the key, and that kind of started that run for OU in the fourth. And that's what you want to see, a fifth-year senior, someone who's been in the tournament, been in these games. She's never reached the Sweet 16, and we'll get to that in a second. But that was, I think, her veteran leadership standing out in that game where she was like, I am not going to let us, blow a game like this.
So now we get to Monday. Number 6 seed Iowa comes off of basically a trouncing of Murray State. 5 players in double figures. Oklahoma looking to punch their ticket to the Sweet 16 for the first time since 2013.
It's crazy, and I think this is their best chance to do it. Iowa will be tough. You might be watching this by the time the game starts or maybe watching after. If so, congratulations to Oklahoma. Or, man, what a tough loss.
Sure.
But
it's going to be a good game, though.
I think it's going to be a great game. I think it's a matchup that fits well, I think, for Oklahoma. But Iowa has some good size, and the thing about Iowa is, I know obviously they don't have Caitlin Clark, but they have a lot of girls that were on those teams and played valuable minutes on those teams that made the runs to the Final Four, made the run to the national championship a year ago. This is a group that knows how to win big basketball games, and I know it's a first-year head coach and Jan Jensen, but obviously she's been at that program a long time. She actually talked about recruiting Jennie Baranczyk back in the early 2000s to Iowa. So she knows what she's doing. This is going to be a tough matchup for Oklahoma. I like OU, but I really do think this is going to be a close game.
There was a lot of discussion about Jennie Baranczyk and her roots back in Iowa on Sunday, right? With a ton of Iowa media here, I understand.
Yeah, there's I want to say almost 20 media members from Iowa. This is Iowa women's basketball, especially because of Caitlin Clark in recent years, but is really kind of like OU softball to them. It's a really big deal. And the fan base travels. I mean, there's going to be a lot of fans at this game at the LNC at 3 that traveled from Iowa. And so that's why it's important for, OU fans. I know it's a tough time for OU fans to get out there, but it's certainly a big deal to have that home crowd on Monday.
Jennie Baranczyk met with the media on Sunday during Oklahoma's off day and talked about just that. It's important to get out to the Lloyd Noble Center.
Well, you got to play the game, and you can't get too far ahead of yourself. You can't hold on to things that are behind you. And I think we kind of had to work through some of that yesterday, and you could see that in our game. And so we've got to be able to step out, and you've got to be able to play the game. And then you also have to have things go right, and some of those things you can control and some of those things you can't control, but you got to give everything you have. I think the other thing is we got to have a lot of fans come. And a 3:00 start it's a hard start time. But we've got to have everybody in Norman get over here and come fill the stands. I think it's going to take that as well. So I'm excited to continue to build our fan base. I thought our crowd was amazing. Sorry, that's all my stuff. I thought our crowd was amazing yesterday. I loved how many people came. I think we're continuing to build it. We're continuing to grow it. But we still have a long way to go. And tomorrow is going to be a great tipping point for us to really see how far we have come and how far people want us to go here.
Jennie Baranczyk talking to the media on Sunday, and it will be interesting, right? There's a lot that goes into a season, and this will be the final game at the Lloyd Noble Center. Oklahoma trying to get to Spokane.
Yeah, they had 8,006, I think, was the official attendance on Saturday, which I think is pretty good.
Sure.
You'd like to see that same number today, or at least around that number, but yeah, it'd be a huge help to get a good crowd there, and it would be awesome if they could make the Sweet 16 first time in Jennie Baranczyk's career. They've won an NCAA tournament game every single year she's been the head coach at OU, which is great. Now it's time to get over that next hump, and what better way to do it than to do it over your alma mater?
I wonder if Caitlin Clark will be in attendance on Monday.
I don't know. That'd be pretty awesome.
I mean, obviously, we
got to get her on Sooner Scoop if that happens.
Caitlin Clark is more than welcome to come on to SoonerScoop.com YouTube channel if she is here.
That'd be cool.
We'll make her do it.
She apparently knows Jennie well. Jennie recruited her out of high school. They went to the same high school, actually, in Iowa. Her and Jennie did.
That's crazy.
Yeah, and then obviously, Jennie's one of the more decorated players, in history. I think Jennie is one of 2 players in Iowa history to have over 1,700 points and 800 rebounds in her career. And the other 2, I believe, are Caitlin Clark and Megan Gustafson, I think. Gustafson is her last name. She's in the WNBA right now, playing for the Las Vegas Aces. So
Damn.
Tells you where Jennie Baranczyk, how good she was at Iowa.
Jennie Baranczyk obviously done an incredible job. A little bit of a side story on Saturday, but will be out there on Tuesday. Number 1 player in the country, Aaliyah Chavez. You were able to catch up with her. She was in attendance at the game on Saturday. Expected to make an announcement, or not even expected. She is making an announcement on Tuesday, and it sounds like OU and Texas for the number 1 player in the country.
Yeah, Tuesday, 1 p.m. on SportsCenter. So if you want to watch that, that's where that will be. I think OU feels good about where they are, but I don't think Chavez has really given an answer to either school on what she's going to choose. The one thing I can say, it feels like a pretty good sign if you're Oklahoma that she came all the way to Norman on Saturday. She's from Lubbock, Texas. They drove up Friday night, spent the weekend in Norman, went to the game on Saturday, bought their own tickets. They wanted to go and see OU play. I think she went a couple weeks ago to Texas's last home game, so she made a visit there, but she's not going to Austin on Monday, which I thought she might do for Texas's game, but we'll see. I think Texas is got a lot of money that they're throwing at her. I know Oklahoma's made a very strong offer, and so we'll have to see how it plays out. I would say it's anyone's guess right now, and I don't think she has indicated either way to either coaching staff what she's going to do. But if Oklahoma can get this girl, Eddie, you're talking about OU, bringing back Reagan Beers next year. Peyton Verhulst is coming back next year. Sahara Williams. You've got a really good core coming back. You add this girl who many believe is the next Caitlin Clark, Juju Watkins type player, Paige Beckers. Like, she's in that same stratosphere. All of a sudden, Oklahoma goes from a borderline top 10 team to, you're talking about maybe being the top 5 in the country. That's how good this girl is.
Incredible job that Jennie Baranczyk's done. Deserves a packed house on Monday afternoon. George and I will be there, and maybe even catch up with you a little bit of an instant reaction after the game on Monday afternoon. OU Iowa, Oklahoma looking to punch its ticket to the Sweet 16 in Spokane for the first time since 2013. Should be a lot of fun. Thank you to Bob Przybylo. Thank you to George Stoia. I'm Eddie Radosevich. We'll see you back here on the SoonerScoop.com YouTube channel.